I spent 5 years trying to get the perfect diet to heal my chronic fatigue syndrome. And I started immediately with that. For example, I did keto, no carbs, carnivore, low-FODMAP, elimination diets, and all kinds of other ones, you name it. And they seemed hopeful in the beginning, but eventually nothing worked. And what shocked me is that the stress of having a perfect diet is worse than eating bad foods on itself. And therefore, I dare to say that the perfect diet just simply doesn't exist. The first thing that everyone tries in their chronic illness recovery journey is to change their diet. And obviously, most people already have digestive issues. Like, for example, I couldn't really digest anything anymore. I had small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I had candida. So obviously, I needed to do something, right? But all of the things caused other problems. For example, when I did raw vegan, which I thought was a healing thing because animal products were supposedly bad, that caused me to have more small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Then I did the carnivore diet, which was the extreme opposite. I did keto. And all of these diets worked for, let's say, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but ultimately they all failed. And the stress of trying to find a perfect diet and trying to be as good as possible in it is actually causing a lot of stress. Maybe more stress than eating crappy foods. So pick your poison. What's worse? I do think that it is important for us to eat healthy and cleanly, but not at all costs. We know that the gut creates 90% of serotonin, the good hormones. But food stress, however, creates fight or flight, creates cortisol. And that means that you can't really process or digest your food properly. So what's the point? So therefore, diet obsession creates cortisol, creates inflammation that will create SIBO and candida, resulting in more constriction. And by being involved in that cycle, we are creating more of that what we're trying to avoid. And that doesn't work. So it's time to really go to the root of the problem and see things such as SIBO, candida, or food addictions just as symptoms, as a consequence. And to not micromanage our symptoms, but to go to the root behind it. And as you've probably heard in other videos of mine, I'd like to say as within, so without. So SIBO can be the result of feeling unsafe. That means fear, unprocessed fear that needs to be felt. And also, it asks you for a change in your life to create more safety. Candida can be the consequence of feeling invaded, not having a free will anymore. Parasites is sort of the feeling that people leech onto you, like externally you're being drained by others, maybe your energy, your money, whatever it is. And all of these things, they point to, for example, toxic relationships, dealing with yourself in the external world. And no matter how much pressure you put on yourself and supplements to fix your intestinal stuff, if you don't deal with the root problem behind it in the external world, it will likely just as easily come back. So things such as antibiotics, diet, antifungals, supplements, they're all temporary fixes that might make you feel better in the beginning. But it's about the long-term result that really matters. And the thing is that once you really dive into these underlying root issues, they're highly emotional. They're very overwhelming. They're not easily fixable because they ask you to look at a part of yourself that hurts. But doing the inner work and creating boundaries will make you feel much calmer. Your nervous system will likely switch to rest and digest. Your digestion improves. And the results of fixing yourself that way goes way beyond any protocol or diet or supplement, because things can go really, really fast. So therefore, the solution is to go within and see what kind of situations in your external world trigger you, make you feel drained. Is there, for example, an energy vampire? Is there a toxic situation that needs to be resolved? But also, is there anger or fear inside of you that you don't really express because it's unsafe, for example, that keeps you in the fight or flight mode? And as long as you are in the fight or flight mode, know that it's okay, because at that moment, a good digestion is not really important, because you would first need to get some safety by expressing your boundaries. Process your trauma and know that this is an ongoing thing. So every day something old might come to the surface that needs your attention. And by resolving it that way, layer after layer, you can release stress from your body. And then eventually you can, for example, eat a very bad diet, but then your body is strong enough to actually deal with the stress. But as long as you're still very stressed and still very sick, of course, eating healthy is recommended, because you don't want to add more stress to your body. So in my own journey, I had lots of diet obsessions. I think it's called orthorexia. It's actually causing just as much stress as people with other eating disorders. But eventually, I completely let it go. And I bought a deep fryer and I deep fried my food. And I noticed that by enjoying my food and not being strict and giving my body what it wants, things became just much more smooth and good for me. Of course, after I ate some bad foods, I always noticed a result, like, for example, a bad digestion or some aches in my belly. But after listening to my body, it became more obvious what my body actually wanted. Sometimes that was, for example, dark chocolate for some magnesium or minerals. And other times it wanted actually some meat. So before, I used to be vegan, very obsessed with eating the right way, but that didn't work for me at all. And as of this moment, I actually eat pretty clean. I'm pretty thin. I'm not obsessed with my diets. I allow myself to eat some unhealthy stuff if I feel like eating it. The binge eating that I used to do in the past was just a result of dealing with my unprocessed emotional issues. So I no longer have that need. And that makes it just much more relaxed and calm. I just feel so much better because of that. So what is your diet struggle? What are the diets that you have tried so far? Please let me know. And also let me know if you like this video. And if so, then also please subscribe. And yeah, thank you for watching.